So welcome to our intermediate class today. And our theme this week is around fullness. And the Yoga Sutra says that when we're struggling, when we're suffering, there's lots of different courses of action we can take depending on our personalities, what's going to work best for us. So he offers a lot of different suggestions, and from things like you can meditate, you can pray, you can focus on light, you can work on your breath. And then it's sort of after a big long list of things that he suggests, he says, or basically whatever makes you feel good. So whatever helps you is really what's going to be something you can bring into your practice as a kind of way of feeding or nourishing yourself today. And that might be some of the things that he suggests in the sutras, like meditation or focusing on positive things or prayer or working on your breath, and it may be something entirely different. But the idea that what we focus on expands, and so when we bring our attention to what we want to fill ourselves with, we're more likely to actually feel that fullness than if we think about, and I've fallen into this trap many times, thinking about the things you don't have and how much you're lacking in the kind of victim mode. And when we get stuck there, it's kind of like circling the drain. And in order to pull ourselves out, we need to shift our focus to what is working, to what we do have, to what is abundant in our lives, to what nourishes us. So that is our practice today. And we'll start sitting down. So just find a comfortable seat. You can sit on your couch, you can sit on your bed, you can sit on the floor or a chair, whatever works for you. I've got my cushion set up ready for me, so I will I'll meet you there. And just gonna adjust one thing here. All right. So what you can't see on the screen quite is that this is the tail of a dog. So I've got a little companion here, and hopefully she won't be too distracting. So coming to a comfortable seat. And we'll start with just a little bit of a meditation today. And that is the idea of inviting in or being, focusing on what feels abundant to us. And we'll do 3 gestures as part of the meditation today. The first gesture is as if we're scooping from the earth, the gifts and nourishment from the earth, bringing it to the heart. The second one is from the environment, so all around us. And the third is from the ether or the unseen. So take a moment, you can sit comfortably, close your eyes. And maybe take a moment to check in with your figurative gas tank. So you're feeling like you're running on empty or on fumes. Do you feel like you've got a little bit of resources but not a full tank? Or maybe you feel completely full up and resourced and you've got a full tank of gas and you're ready to take on the world. So there's no judgment involved in what you discover. See if you can notice, what is your figurative gas tank like? Is it full, empty, or somewhere in between? And once you have an idea of where your energy level or your gas level is, just make a mental note of that. And again, like I said, we'll work on inviting nourishment or being aware of the nourishment that already exists in our lives. So again, take a moment, tune into your breath. Feel your sit bones wherever they meet, whatever you're sitting on. And feel whatever aspect of the earth is beneath you. So you might feel your legs or feet on the ground. And if nothing is actually on the ground, just imagine the surface that you're on to be the ground. So it could be your couch or bed. Just whatever's making contact with what's beneath you. And feeling into that support. We'll see if you can allow your body to really settle into the support of what's beneath you. And then take a moment to imagine all of the gifts that come from the earth, all of the nourishment that comes from the earth. So that may be food that you eat, maybe your very own garden. Perhaps it's a sense of stability that you feel you get from the earth. So whatever abundance you receive from the earth, take a moment to bring that into your mind. And then we'll do 3 times this gesture of drawing in or bringing in those gifts from the earth. So you can reach down as if you're scooping up from the earth and bringing those gifts to your heart, that nourishment to your heart. So 3 times, take your time, reaching down, scooping and drawing in, maybe even pausing there briefly. And again, scooping in, pausing. Take a moment to breathe in all of that abundance, that nourishment. And if you're having a day where your gas tank feels empty and it's hard to connect with the gifts and the nourishment of the world around you, acknowledge that with as much compassion as possible, even bringing one more drop to your gas tank if possible. And then take a moment to imagine the gifts and the nourishment that are all around you. So it could be the song of the birds, which I'm aware of right now, that feels nourishing. It could be the people or the objects around you that help to nourish you, help you to feel nourished. It could be your environment, your home, places that you go outside of your home. So whatever nourishes you in your life, maybe pets. And then when you feel ready, when you feel connected to that nourishment from around you, you can open your arms and imagine that you're drawing in all of that nourishment to your heart, pausing each time to really feel that drawing in, and then again, and again a third time. Pause there to feel any amount of nourishment that you're able to connect with from your environment, from the people, the places, and things around you. And then take a moment to contemplate what nourishment you receive from the unseen. So that could be your spiritual life, it could be your intuition, those things that just happen for no reasonable explanation. So what is it from the unseen world that nourishes you, from spirit world or intuitive world? And then the gesture here when you're ready is to reach up and imagine you're drawing those things in from above to your heart, and do that gesture 3 times. And then after the 3rd time, again, pause for a moment with your hands over the heart, breathing in deeply, connecting with that nourishment. And again, if you feel undernourished, if finding nourishment feels challenging today, connect with whatever compassion you can find within. Great. And then releasing the hands, do a few circles, one way and the other. And then let's bring the palms together. And this next gesture, again, working with our theme of nourishment. You're going to take the hands and turn the palms toward the ground, and then bring the backs of the hands together. Roll your fingertips towards you with just a little pressure on the hands to stretch the wrists. And then you're going to come into this gesture of opening the hands in front as if you were waiting to receive nourishment. And then whatever nourishes you, bring that back. Backs of the hands come together, fingertips come in, down, roll around, and the hands come back together, as if you could hold that nourishment close to your heart. So again, rolling the hands out to come to this humble asking position. Please, may I be nourished. And then allowing yourself to be nourished by bringing it back to your heart. One more time. Please, may I be nourished. Please nourish me. And then bringing it back to the heart. And take a breath or two to let that go. Let that focus go, but keep the nourishment, of course. You can stretch your legs out at any point. When you feel ready, give them a shake, wake them up if they've fallen asleep. And we'll make our way over onto hands and knees. So after sitting for a bit, bringing in some movement here, starting maybe with the arching and rounding of the spine. Inhaling as you arch. Exhaling as you round or come into the cat position. Becoming aware of how your body feels as you bring in some movement. If you prefer coming to child's pose with your exhale, you could add that instead of just rounding. If you want a little deeper stretch and your knees and ankles will allow that. Eventually start to ad-lib, make up whatever movement might feel good. So perhaps some side to side or some circling with the hips. Make it your own. Tune into what feels good in your body, what would nourish your body through movement right now, and follow that intuition, that guidance from your own body. If you want to expand a little more into the front of the body as you come upright, you can let the hands walk a little forward and allow the hips to come forward. You're going to want to bend your elbows a little, just a little bit of a back bend, add some movement, maybe coming forward, bending the elbows so you're not scrunching up your shoulders. Right, you can come up to the center, bringing the hips back and letting the hips come off to one side. You can walk the hands the opposite way for a couple of breaths, letting the head come down in between. These are all options. If something else feels better to your body right now, follow that. If you're doing the little bit of a side bend, hips sink the other direction, arms reaching the opposite way, breathing into the sides of the side of the body here. Eventually back to center. And again, whatever movement was feeling good for you, eventually bringing it back to symmetry by coming back to either cat-cow or all fours to child's pose for a few more rounds. You can take a rest anytime in child's pose, especially if you need some relief for your wrists, maybe coming to child's pose, doing a little movement with your wrists or hands.
Breathing into the abundance in the body, stretching a little with the breath, but not forcing or straining. Right, eventually coming up to all fours, and if you're ready for downward dog, you can tuck your toes under and lift up and spend a few breaths here exploring your first downward dog by walking on the spot. Eventually lowering back down to all fours and either coming to child's pose, or if it's more comfortable, you can be up more on your forearms to give your knees and ankles a little more space. Otherwise, child's pose for a few breaths. Right, we'll keep warming up with warrior. So when you're ready, coming up to all fours, and we'll come into downward dog. If you have blocks and you find it helpful to use them to step forward, or if you want to stay on all fours to step forward. So either way, we'll be bringing one foot forward. I'm going to start with the left, so I'll instruct with that in mind, but if you want to do the other side, that's fine. So you're stepping forward with the left foot, the right foot turns out so that the whole foot is on the ground. You can step the foot a little forward or back depending on how much effort you want to engage with. So a little further apart tends to be a little more effort. Pressing into that back heel, really feel that leg firm, and then from there with a long spine, lifting up into warrior one. So we'll move with warrior one from the upright position to the forward position. You can exhale, maybe move your front leg straighter as you come forward, and then inhale, maybe bending the leg as you come upright. So it's an exhale to release forward, an inhale to lift up, Great. Next time you come upright, stay for a few breaths. So in warrior, the back leg is strong, straight, the front knee more or less over the ankle. As much as possible, your hips are pointing towards the same direction as your front foot. Great. Engage your core a little bit so you're bringing your belly button back just a bit and really strengthening down into the legs, lifting up through the torso. Feel the gifts of the earth, the stability, the nourishment all around you. And then warrior, it's like you're reaching for the heavens while being fully grounded on the earth. Your body's a conduit between the two. And when you're ready, you can bring the arms down. You'll either step forward or back to switch sides. So easier to step forward. That's an option. If you prefer back to downward dog, you can step back. Either way, you're going to end up with the other foot, in my case, right foot forward, left foot back. And then back foot is turned on an angle towards the side that's comfortable for you. You're pressing into that foot, firming up the leg, pressing into the front foot, and with a long spine, take your time to slowly emerge upright. So from here again, same thing on this side. Strong legs lifting up with the breath in. Exhaling to come forward, maybe moving your front leg straighter if that's available. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, releasing. A couple more at your own pace, just like that. And then at some point when you're upright, staying upright, and again, really digging into the earth with your feet, engaging through the core. So belly is moving back a little bit, and there's a feeling of a lift through the heart, a dropping through the tail. Shoulders stay relaxed, and there's this feeling of being this conduit between the earth and the heavens, grounded, solidly planted on the earth, but reaching for your highest self, that warrior spirit. Good. As you're ready, exhale, bring the hands down. Let the head come down. You can take a breath or two here. And then stepping your feet, your back foot forward so that you're in a standing forward bend, or Uttanasana is the Sanskrit. Letting the head release down. Try to find some nice length in the neck. If it's more comfortable, bring your elbows up onto your thighs. And then let's come into a half forward bend by sliding the hands up to the shins and finding a position where you're about halfway up. Breathing in, you can bend your knees. Exhale, slide down. Keep your knees soft, let the head release down. And then inhale, come up. So you're looking for a little arch in the back. Exhale, release, and fold forward. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, release. This time as we come up halfway, instead of sliding the hands to the shins, you can take them out to the sides. Soft knees, lifting through the tail, lengthening through the back of the neck. So you're not looking forward, you're looking down. Sit down a little bit more, and then raise the arms as you lift the torso into Utkatasana, the chair pose. From there, lift slowly up, breathing in. And exhale to release. Take your feet, separate them a little to the sides. Bring your hands onto your hips. Soften your knees a bit, and we'll move the hips in a bit of a circle. So feel the joints of your hips moving in the socket. So the top of the femur has a ball on top, sits nicely into the bottom of the pelvis, has a wide range of motion, and if you have any age to you at all, you may find that your hips are maybe sometimes a little cranky. So doing these movements can help to lubricate the joint. You might feel as you move, some areas of that joint feel really smooth, really easy. Other areas feel a little bit, a little tighter, a little less mobile. You don't want to go into pain. So if it feels really painful or uncomfortable, you may want to just adjust your circles a bit smaller. Eventually coming back to the center so that your feet are still a little bit apart, it's about shoulder width or slightly wider apart. Soften your knees and feel your heels sink down. So soft knees and sink back just slightly into your heels. And we'll take one arm, reach it up, breathing in. Grow that side of your torso long, and then as you exhale, reach over to the other side. Come up with the breath in and switch arms. And then exhale, reach over to the other side. Inhale, lift, switch, lengthen, and exhale. Keep lengthening as you reach. Lifting and switching. Exhale, reaching. Maybe one more to either side. Great. Let's come back to one side and stay for a few breaths. So as you're staying, press into the foot that corresponds to the arm that's up. Reach and grow. And then you can allow the other hand to slide down, but try not to collapse. So the arm slides down, but the torso keeps long. Good. Releasing to the center. Just bring both arms down for a moment. Notice maybe how one side feels compared to the other. And then we'll switch. So reaching up, reach over to the side. Grow long here. A couple more breaths. And then coming all the way up and releasing. Let's lift both arms, breathing in. Soften your knees. Exhale, sweep down toward the ground. Inhale and lift. Exhale, continuing, sweeping down. One more at your own pace. Coming down with an exhale, lifting with an inhale. And this time you have the option to stay if you want in the forward bend. So you could just place your hands or forearms on your thighs or reach down toward the ground. Take a few breaths wherever you happen to find yourself most comfortably. And when you're ready to come up, take the arms to the side. Look for length in your spine. Bend your knees and then come all the way up with a breath in, reaching up, exhaling to release. So you can turn back to the side if you've switched your orientation so that you have some space behind you to step back. And we'll move into a little bit of movement with the breath in sun salutation. So again, feel your feet, especially your heels, sinking down into the earth. Feel a slight dropping in your tailbone, but not a tucking under. Just a feeling of releasing the lower back a little bit, and a feeling, maybe not even a movement, but a feeling of dropping through the tail. And then a lift through the heart, dropping through the shoulders, relaxing down through the arms, and a reaching up through the crown of the head. Tadasana, mountain pose. Let's bring the hands together at the heart. Take a breath in and lift up. Good. Make a big circle around you, reaching toward the ground. Let your head release. Next, inhale, hands to shins. Find that length in the spine, and then exhale to release. Let's take one leg. I'll take the right. Back, coming into lunge. In lunge, imagine there's a straight line from your back heel to the crown of your head. So you may or may not have any way of checking that, but just imagine that straight line. So is it lifted in the middle? Is it sunk in the middle? Or can you find relative evenness across that line? From there, let's step back to downward dog. You can take a few breaths in downward dog and imagine the line from your wrists to your hips now is a straight line. So for two forward, there's a bend in the line. You want to press into the hands, bend your knees even to find that length from wrist to hips. Squeeze the hands as if you're pulling them together on the mat. The elbows as if they're coming towards each other, and then opening up the back of the shoulders. One more breath and we'll lower the knees. Exhaling to bring the knees to the ground. Inhale, find a little arch, lift the head slightly, lift the tail, breathing in, exhaling, rounding and moving to child's pose. You can spend a couple of breaths here, breathing into the space in the back side of your body. And then back up to all fours. For those of you who find it easier to step forward from all fours, you can take the right foot between your hands from here and then come to lunge. If you want to come first to downward dog, you can lift up and step the right foot forward. So again, see if you can find that long line from the back heel to the crown of your head and extend along that line. So it's not lifted or sagging, but nice and firm and long through the top of your head. From there, we'll step forward. Let your head release again. Inhale, hands to shins, finding length. Exhale to fold forward. And inhale, lift all the way up. Bringing the palms together as if you could gather all those gifts from the earth, the atmosphere, the heavens, back to the heart. From here, inhale and lift. Big circle as you exhale, coming forward. Bend your knees as much as you need to find ease in the forward bend, and then hands to shins as you lengthen. Exhale and fold. We'll step back with the left foot this time, so the other side. Find that length from the heel to the crown of the head. For those who want more here, you can arc that line by lifting the hands to the knee and finding a nice smooth arc now from the back foot up through the crown of the head. And if you still want to work on that arc, you can imagine reaching the arms up, and as if that could create a circle, a big circle behind you that touches your fingers, goes all the way around, comes to your heel, and back up through your body. Good. From there, hands down, step back to downward dog. Again, if you want, you can walk on the spot a few times. Maybe lengthen from the wrist to the hips, squeeze in with the arms, opening the upper back, and then lowering your knees to all fours. Good. Inhale with a little length in the spine. Exhale to child's pose and take a few breaths there. And then back up to all fours. Again, if stepping forward from all fours is better for you than coming to downward dog, you'll take the left foot forward here or come into downward dog first. The best time to step forward is when you're empty. So if you come up onto your toes, bend your knees, exhale fully, squeeze the leg up towards your chest and step forward. Easier said than done. From there, find that long line from heel to the crown of the head. If you're feeling strong and secure and confident here, you could bring the hands up onto the front knee and arc that line from the back, heel up, and then maybe lift the arms. Good. When you're ready, hands come down. We'll step forward. Let the head release down for a breath or two. And then hands to shins, finding length. Exhale, releasing once more. And then all the way up with the breath in. Like you're gathering all of those gifts from the earth, the environment, the heavens, and back to the heart. Breathing here, let your heels sink down. Crown of the head lift. And we'll take the hands, lift them up with a big breath in. Good. Exhale, big circle. We're going to step back with the right foot this time, but turning the foot to the side again as if for warrior. So just where we were earlier in the class in that warrior stance, left foot forward, right foot back, or if you've been doing the opposite from me, that's fine. From here, we'll lift up into warrior one. Again, press into the back heel. Find that little bit of drop through the tail, lift through the heart. And then keeping your left foot, if that's your front foot, exactly where it is, you'll start to turn toward the right. So we want to keep this knee over the ankle. As you turn towards the right, you may take your back foot and just adjust it so that it's a good angle for you. So as you turn your hips and shoulders to the side, left knee stays in the same line as your toes, pointing in where what used to be the front, and then arms to the sides. So this is now warrior two. If you want to work a little bit more here and deepen the pose, you can take the back foot, wiggle it back a little bit and sink down a little more. So if you imagine keeping this angle here, this straight up and down angle with your lower leg, the wider your legs are apart, the more this thigh is working, sinking you down. So you can find the warrior two that works for you, that you feel strong in. This leg here is moving back. So I'm thinking about my knee Moving back so it stays over my ankle. It's not flopping inwards at all. Great. From our warrior two, let's add a side angle. So you can bring your forearm down onto your thigh. Turn the other palm so it's facing the ceiling. Lift up. And then see if you can find a line from the back leg out through the fingertips. A nice straight line here. So in my case, it's right arm, right leg. And I'm breathing and extending along that line, pushing into the foot, reaching up with the arm, and breathing. Great, coming upright. You want to keep the legs bent. It's getting to be a bit of work here. Turn the back hand up. We're going to lift that arm overhead, lift the back heel, pivot on your feet, bring your hands down, step back to downward dog. And take a few breaths in downward dog. And then lowering the knees, come to all fours. Inhale, find a little length, so a little bit of arch. Exhale, softening, rounding, coming to child's pose for a couple of breaths. Back up to all fours. And again, we're going to be stepping the right foot forward, so you can do it from all fours or first into downward dog. You're always stepping forward when you're empty. So you're going to exhale, right foot forward, left foot turns out. And again, if you want easier, you're going to step the foot a little forward. If you want to work a little harder, keep the feet a little wider apart and turning or lifting up to warrior one. So front knee over the ankle, a little bit of a drawing back in the belly, dropping in the tail, lifting in the heart. As you turn now to the side, you're going to be turning the other direction. Front knee stays over the ankle. You can open up the back foot a little bit to make sure that your ankle is comfortable. You're going to make sure that knee stays directly in line with your foot. Shoulders and hips moving to the side as much as comfortable. Arms to the sides. So again, if you want to work a little harder, sink down a little more by taking the feet apart. If you want to work a little less, wiggle the feet closer together. From here, you can add the side angle pose by bringing the elbow down, turn the other palm toward the ceiling, lift up, and keep reaching overhead until you imagine that long line from the back foot out through the fingers. Breathing. When you're ready, lift back up. Warrior two. Again, you can turn the back palm up, lift that arm overhead, swinging it as you lift the heel and pivot on your feet. Bring your hands right down on either side of your front foot and step forward. Take your hands to your shins and lengthen. Back of the neck long. Exhale, release. And inhale, come all the way up. And exhale to release again. You can stay where you are. We'll do a few forward bends. So inhale, lifting. Bend your knees, soften, exhale, let the arms come behind your back. Palms turn up, head releasing down. And then inhale, lifting up. So nice, easy, a few more forward bends, shoulders and arms, staying nice and soft. Legs, knees soft, so the lower back can nicely soften and release here. Last one. And then this time, as the arms are reaching up overhead, You can bring the hands together as if you're gathering all of those gifts of nourishment, bringing it back to the heart. Pause here for a moment. And then again, taking the hands, lifting them up. Exhaling, big circle around you, as if you could spread that abundance all around you and back to the earth, reaching to the ground. Hands to shins, lengthening, lifting the heart. Exhale, release, fold forward. I'm going to take the right foot back again, so starting with the same side as we started last time. Turning the foot to the side. This time I'm making my stance a little bit smaller, so it's not quite so wide, and definitely this gets more challenging the wider your legs are. We're going to lift up to warrior one. Same thing, turn to warrior two, shifting your back foot so that you're comfortable. And then we're going to come into a dynamic pose called shooting star. So this knee pointing in the same direction as your foot. You're going to shift your weight onto that foot. Find your balance there. Lift the back leg. Shooting star. Good. See if you can keep your balance. Another breath or two. And then step back to warrior two. Good. Swinging the arm over. Hands down. Coming back to downward dog. From downward dog to all fours, breathing in. Exhale, child's pose. We're coming back to all fours with the breath in. Exhale, downward dog, or step forward from all fours. From downward dog, if you've come there, the right foot will come forward. Left foot might step forward a little. Turn to the side and come up, warrior one again. Turning to warrior two. Again, knee in the same trajectory as the foot. I'm going to step onto that foot. Reach the leg up. And I mean, shooting star can be static, it can be dynamic. So dynamic would be just to come into and out of the pose a few times, find your bearings, and then stay. When you're ready, step back. Swing the arm over, pivot on your foot, bring the hands down, and step forward. Couple of breaths in the forward bend here. And then hands to shins, lengthen. Release, exhale, and fold forward. Inhale, come all the way up. And exhale to release. Right, so just pause for a moment. You can give a little shake, release the effort. So we'll come into a pose called half moon pose. It's similar to shooting star, except for there's a hand and a leg on the ground or on some surface in this pose. So I'm going to demonstrate it actually using a chair to make this pose simple. And I'm going to use the top part of the chair for this pose, but you could also use the seat of the chair. So if you have a block, you can use a block as well. And the idea is that you want to have whatever you're reaching for, you want it to be a little bit behind you. So if I show you from this angle here, where I'm turning one foot to the side, I'm going to place my block so it's a little bit outside of my foot. So it's not directly in line, but a little bit outside. If I'm using a chair, I can do the same thing. Of course, the chair is much wider, so it's less critical. So feet parallel to begin with. You're going to turn one foot towards the side. If you're going to bring your hand down to a block, your block will be on the outside of your foot. If you're going to bring your hand to a chair, you're probably good just to have the chair near the foot somewhere. So from here, bend the front knee. I'm going to reach and bring my hand to the top of the chair, lift the other leg, and reach out. So you could have the hand coming down to the seat of the chair, or it could be down for your block. So finding the expression of this pose best for you, and then reach out in all 5 directions, both hands, both feet, and the crown of your head. Good. As you're ready to come up, see if you can lift everything and step back to your warrior 2, and then release. Bring your feet together. You can just let that go, shake it off. And then, of course, we have the other side to do. So you can either turn away along your mat, or you can bring your props if you're using them to the other side. And it is possible for some people to have the foot on the ground and one hand on the ground, not using a block or a chair, but that's a really advanced maneuver and can be quite tricky. So we're not looking to strain or force anything, but to really enjoy the pose in a way that feels really nourishing to our bodies. So you're going to start with the feet, again, a little wider than your shoulders, turning one foot to the side. If you're using a block, you'll place it probably about a foot or 6 inches ahead of your foot, but out to the side a little bit, as I showed you already. You're going to bend the knees, the ankle lines up under the knee, arms to the sides. And then again, you can either reach for the top of your chair, the seat of your chair, or the block. You can reach first, so you have 2 points of contact, and then lift the leg, lift the arm. I don't recommend, as I'm doing, shifting while I'm in the pose, but you could. As long as you can hold your balance there. Good. If you want to lift the leg a little more and engage in the glutes, feel free to experiment with that. Good. When you come back, you're going to step back to warrior 2. Release the arms, straighten the leg, and turn your feet so that they're parallel to one another. From here, big breath in, raising both arms up overhead. Soften your knees, sweep down, reach for the ground. Inhale, hands to shins, lengthen, or knees. Exhale, you can slide the hands down. If you can reach the ankles, you can hold the ankles or just bring your hands to the floor. Elbows on thighs might be another option that feels better for you. Take a few more breaths here. So some options from this position: if you take the hands to the ground or to the blocks, you can be on fingertips or flat hands. Maybe wiggle the feet just a little bit wider. And then bend one knee while you keep the other straight, looking for a little stretch up the inner thigh. Other side. If you want more stretch, believe it or not, having your hands a little higher, like on a chair, finding some arch in the back will often give you a little bit more stretch. So the more the back is rounded and you have your hands down, actually the less stretch you'll feel in your legs. So you can play around with what feels good for you here. If you've got a chair, you could even bring your elbows or your head onto the chair. Or again, it could be coming back to that forward bend on the ground. When you're ready, we'll come all the way up. We're reaching the arms overhead and then releasing. You can step your feet together. And we're going to make our way down to the ground. So if you've covered your mat with blocks and chairs and whatnot, you can make yourself some space. If you even have a mat at your home practice, whatever you've got, I'm sure is just fine. And come right down onto the ground on your back. And when you get there, just take a moment. If you want to hug the knees, do a little movement, whatever would nourish and feel good to you. And then eventually you can let your feet release to the floor. And keeping your elbows on the ground, let your hands come to rest somewhere on your body. Take a moment to tune into the rhythm of your breath, and especially now focusing on your exhalation. So have the sense that as you exhale, you're letting go of the effort of the practice, the uprightness, the holding of poses, strength of the legs. Letting all of that go. Feel your body soften into the support and nourishment of the earth. Breathing in the nourishment of the earth, as though you could breathe in the gifts of grounding, breathing in the gifts of the abundance of the food from the earth. And whatever else you feel comes from the earth to nourish you. And then taking the hands from the body, keep the elbows on the ground, just let the arms reach out to the sides, palms can turn up. And take a moment here to breathe in the gifts from the environment around you. Those could be the people, the places, and things that nourish you. Breathing all of that in. And then taking your hands and sliding them along the ground any amount. So you want to have the elbows and the backs of your hands comfortably on the ground, but sliding up until you feel like you're not maybe at your limit, but moving towards your limit where you're moving further would be uncomfortable for your shoulders or your arms. So making sure you're comfortable, let the arms completely rest there. Breathing for a few breaths. Connecting with the nourishment that comes from some source that's not definable or seeable. That source of spirit or another world that nourishes us. Breathing that in now. And then slowly sliding the arms back down, bringing the knees up in toward the chest, bring one hand to each knee, and gently guide the knees towards you as you exhale, straightening the arms, move the knees away as you inhale. So exhaling, squeezing in, and inhaling to release. You can hug the knees or circle the knees, whatever would feel good to release the lower back even a little bit more.
We're getting ready to wind down soon for Shavasana. So if there's other movement that would feel good to your body, you can go ahead and do that. Maybe you want to stretch the arms and legs out and then back to center. I know lots of people enjoy a little twist at the end of a class before Shavasana. So you might just bring the feet to the floor and add a little gentle twist side to side. My only recommendation is that if you do come into a twist, that before you come to Shavasana, you come back to knees to chest to bring the knees forward and back a few times to realign the spine after twisting. Called a counter pose. So take your time with whatever movement might feel good to you. Whenever you feel ready to come to stillness, you can find your way either into a lying position on your back for Shavasana, or really any position that's comfortable, lying down, or if you prefer, you can certainly come into a seated position for more of a seated meditation to end the class today. So take your time to wrap up your movement and gradually find your way to stillness. And as you do come to stillness, find your way back to an awareness of your breath, tuning into the feeling of abundance and nourishment, drawing the breath, the prana, the energy in. And as you exhale, you're letting go of what no longer serves you, the tension, the holding, the grasping. So inhaling, nourishing that fullness, abundance. Exhaling, softening, letting go, releasing, letting go of that tension or anything else that no longer serves you. Soften the muscles of your jaw and all around your face. Let the weight of your head sink down. If you're lying down, sink into your mat. And if you're sitting, head is centered over the shoulders. So there's very little to no effort in holding the head. Drop down through your shoulders and feel your arms release. Let your hands be soft. There's no need to grasp or hold anything here. Let the area all around your heart open with each breath in, soften with each breath out. Let go of the effort. Feel your belly soften and let the lower back release a little more. Feel your pelvis heavy and let go of the holding around the muscles of the buttocks and pelvic floor, the lower abdomen, the hips. Softening and sinking down through the thighs and knees, through the calves and ankles, releasing and relaxing right down to the soles of your feet and the tips of your toes. The more you can soften and relax and let go of tension in the body, the more space you're able to create to draw in nourishment with each breath. Breathing in, nourishment. Breathing out, letting go. Exhale, softening, releasing tension. I'll share with you today a chant that talks about this fullness or this nourishment, and that we are full always. We're full of spirit, full of that abundant support, whether we can feel it or not. We talked about this last week. We're always full at our essential core, that part of us that can't be broken. And this chant reminds us of that wholeness, that fullness, that abundance, that support. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Again, check your body for tension. Where have you brought in holding? If anywhere, can you continue to soften and create the intention of moving through your day with a sense of openness, of being open to receiving the abundance and the gifts all around you, to seeing what is present, what is abundant, what is available, and letting go of the focus on what you don't have, what you need, what's not available. Creating space, letting the breath deepen a little bit now. As you deepen the breath and maybe feel inspired, you can add some movement, starting with your fingers and toes, ankles, wrists, arms and legs, gradually moving those movements a little bigger, a little more full as you bring circulation and energy back into your body through movement. Eventually moving, stretching any way that would feel good. And if you still want to stay in Shavasana a little longer and be with that quieter place, feel free to ignore me and stay. If you're ready to move on with your day, you can take your time to move on to your side and then slowly come back to sit. And if you've come back to sit, you can bring your palms together. Take a couple of full breaths, maybe connecting with gratitude for the abundance, for the nourishment, for this time together, and for the day ahead. Namaste.